What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. In this one, it's team selection for Game Week 31. Obviously, the international break is nearly over. I'm going to quickly talk about Game Week 30. I know it was a while away and people have kind of forgotten about it, but I'll just be really quick, okay? So I got a red arrow, very, very small, and it was like a 500 place red arrow. So I was like 26,100 or something like that. Now I'm 26,500, so it wasn't too bad. I had Son captain. That was really good because it came in higher than Kane captain, at least by a few points anyway. Obviously, anyone that free hit had both, so they did really well out of it. I'm also really happy with Tierney's 6 points because Ramsdale missed out, which was big for me because usually he's the one that mops up all the bonus, and having Tierney is just not quite as good. So that was fortunate for me, and obviously Saka came in. He's been absolutely brilliant this season for me. Elsewhere, Rafinha missed out. Luka Dean missed out. I'd planned pretty well for this game week and it all kind of went wrong. And then Jimenez gets sent off -2. Saiss and Sarr both concede. Leeds put 3 goals past them. Overall, that game was I thought that was just a really bad start to the game week and I was really worried about what might happen. But the rest of the squad, or at least basically Saka, Tierney and Son captain, kind of pulled it up to the point where we only got a really small red arrow. So that's Game Week 30. We've kind of forgotten about that now. Let's talk about Spitch and then we'll go ahead on to Game Week 31. So team selection videos are back and so are Spitch. Thank you to them for sponsoring today's video. If you haven't already checked it out, there's a handy link in the description below. You just need to be 18 or over. And it's weekly fantasy football across a bunch of competitions as well, which you can see on screen. We're going to stick to the Premier League. Now, there are paid for games as well. You need to gamble responsibly. There's links to begambleaware.org in the description below. There's also free games, right? And this week is another week where there's extra prizes on offer. So if we click into the prize competition, top left with the purple round, the free box, you can see the prizes here, which I've got on screen. So you got Apple Watch Series 7, AirPods Pro, Beat Solo 3, and the list goes on. So it's well worth signing up, getting your free account, getting started, and picking your team. And one other thing I wanted to show you as well, if I just go in and show you my team, is the budget now is kind of around points as well. So if you click into this, you start with plus 1,200 points, and then players cost a certain amount of points to put into your team. So you could actually start with a negative if you wanted to. So this team's got plus 78 points, but as you can see, I'm missing a defender. So if I click into here, I've already got Lamptey and Rudiger in my team. Let's say I wanted Reece James, so I can find him in the list, choose him, he's there. That then puts me down to -66 points. So I then have to decide, do I think that team is so good that I'm happy to start on a minus, or do I want to kind of reduce some of the players down and put in someone a little bit weaker? But there's some good matchups. Salah against Watford, Kane against Newcastle, Broja against Leeds. I'm pretty happy with this team. So I'm going to lock it in. I'm going to choose my captain, who is obviously going to be Mo Salah against Watford. As long as he's fit, he'll be in there. And just confirm it. Reece James obviously listed as injured. I'll change that before the deadline, depending on what we hear from Tuchel. I'll confirm that. Join for free. And that is it. If you want to sign up and give it a go, link in the description below, 18 or over. Get it downloaded. Try and win some of these free prizes. Okay, so taking a look at Game Week 31, I do have 2 free transfers. If you remember back to the Game Week 30 deadline stream, I was talking about doing maybe Rafinha to Barnes. I didn't do it in the end. Barnes is ahead of him on points, of course, but I'm quite glad to have 2 free transfers, especially when I got a few flagged players. Like Dubravka's flagged, although I will bench him this week almost certainly. Jimenez is obviously suspended, and Trent Alexander-Arnold is flagged as well. Now, interestingly, this morning before I recorded, This Is Anfield tweeted out that Trent is back in full training. That sounded really good. Maybe he'll be in contention to start for Watford. But then James Pearce on Twitter, who's a very good source, a good journalist on Twitter for Liverpool News, says Trent was continuing with his individual rehab at Kirkby on Wednesday. Bespoke plan for him where he'll start to be reintegrated into some elements of first team training. So it's not like he's completely back into first team training. I think it still is very unlikely he's going to play against Watford at home. And I'm in 2 minds about selling him. I'm definitely more leaning towards not selling him, probably like 80-20, 70-30, something like that, because I know long term I will want him. But if he's going to miss that Watford game, and I also think, well, he's probably going to concede against Man City, he could also concede against Man United as well, that's a lot of money not really doing too much for me over the next few weeks. I know the kind of counterpoint to that is, well, if you sell him, that's one transfer. When you want to buy him back, that's another one. If you spread the cash, it could turn into hits as well. But if you could spend 8 million and get more points over the next few weeks, that might be worth it. So right now, I'm not looking to sell him. but I could maybe persuade myself to do it by the deadline, just because I think Man City and Man United could prove to be not difficult games, right, or anything like that, but I just think they'll concede in both those games. I think if you've got a wild card and he's ruled out for Watford, then I think it's a pretty easy sell, to be honest, because I don't think he's going to hold his price. I think it will come down a bit. So when you end up buying him back on the wild card, it's only going to cost you probably an extra 0.2, 0.3 million. So I'd probably do that. For me, it's a little bit trickier. And I could just, like, the thing with my defence is I don't mind playing Doherty against Newcastle. I don't really mind playing Tierney against Palace. And I've got the money to do a defender upgrade from Seiss to either Robertson, Cancelo or Reece James, which we've spoken about a lot over this international break, and I could just bench Trent, so it's not the end of the world. Just to talk about that, I am going to make another transfer, which I'll talk about later, but Seiss upgrade is probably something I'm going to do. I'm tempted to keep Luka Dean, because in game week 34, he could double against Burnley, and if that happens, it's a couple of good fixtures. He's also got Norwich at home to come before the end of the season as well. I'm not saying I'll hold him for the whole rest of the season, but he's not a bad hold right now, I don't think, because he's not really getting in the way of any of my other plans. So Seiss will be the upgrade. James is the one I want right now, because I think he doesn't have to play Liverpool, Man City in game week 32, and Arsenal at home in game week 33 is okay. But I actually think Cancelo is the better long-term pick, because I think he's got Brighton in game week 33, pretty good fixture this week, and Man City's fixtures are just ridiculous for the rest of the season. And between them, I don't think that you could say that one of them is going to play considerably more minutes than the other one. So Cancelo is probably the one that I want. The only thing is, and I'll come on to midfield in a minute, I am thinking about possibly bringing in Bruno Fernandes for Son, maybe in game week 32, if not 33, for captaincy reasons. And if I get Cancelo, I've got to downgrade another player to be able to afford that move, so then that turns into an additional hit, which I'm not against doing because of captaincy reasons and stuff like that, but there's not really any other players that I want to downgrade right now, whereas if I go for Reece James, I can just afford that in one move. So that is playing on my mind. I don't think I'm going to go for Robertson. Not for any real good reason. I think he's a good long-term pick. He's just more expensive than both the others. And I think Man City's fixtures are just so good that Cancelo is probably the one I want. I do think Robertson's probably a little bit less prone. I don't even know if he is less prone to rotations, because Tsimikas is there. So in the easier fixtures, they could just play him. And with Cancelo, he's played so many minutes, he'll probably be fine. Just really quickly, because I'm just thinking out loud now about Robertson and Cancelo. A lot of people think there could be benchings this week, and on paper it looks right. Yeah, Liverpool play Watford. Why not rest Robertson? Why not rest Trent? Right, even if he's back to being able to play. And with Cancelo, they got Burnley. Yes, you could definitely rest him in that game. Kyle Walker's suspended for the Champions League as well, so he can't even play that game. But also, it's all about recovery. So even if they rest him for this game, does that then mean that they can play 4 games in 11 days? Bearing in mind it's Liverpool and Atletico, obviously, for Man City, and it's Benfica and Man City for Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool's Champions League game is maybe a little bit easier, but they're not going to take it for granted, right? So there could be rotation, but I just think with rhythm and stuff like that Pep talks about, that Cancelo could just play this week and play the week after, and then just see how he recovers between games. If Tuchel says that Reece James is fully fit, though, and available to play, it will be pretty tempting just to go for him. So without all the obvious caveats about what managers might say about players returning from international duty and stuff like that, I'm feeling pretty good about this midfield, as long as they all play, right? I think Salah captain against Watford at home looks pretty obvious. Some people might go for like Kane against Newcastle at home, but for me, I'm definitely going Salah, and I expect him to play as well. Like, I just think that, yes, he was away, but so was Mane, so was Diaz, etc. So I think he probably will play that Watford. I think what might happen with kind of Liverpool, Man City players in particular is if they are cruising, right, they're absolutely steamrolling the team, or maybe they're, even if it's like just 2-0 against Watford at home and it's 70 minutes gone, they don't think they're going to give that up, and obviously they've got quality players on the bench to bring on as well. We might see players starting to be brought off a little bit early, so Salah's a bit of a 90-minute man. That might not be the case for the next few weeks as they try and get through all these fixtures. And obviously if they go through the Champions League as well, then it just gets even worse right later on in the season. But Salah will be my captain. Saka is a slight doubt. He's not flagged for some reason, but he did leave the England camp on international duty because of a positive COVID test. I saw some article from Southgate saying there was some confusion because he was fine. He didn't really know why he couldn't stay. But then there's a tweet this morning saying that Saka is still a slight doubt, but they're hopeful he'll be okay for the game. I think it's on Monday for Arsenal. So I'm not really too worried about him. I'm happy to play him. I don't really want to sell him. And because I'm going to sell Jimenez this week, I will have a player on the bench that could come in for him anyway. So he's staying. Son obviously looks good against Newcastle, same as Kulusevski. Yes, Newcastle have improved, but I still think that's a pretty good game for Spurs, and I'm pretty happy to have two attackers. And obviously, you know my thoughts around Rafinha. I've talked about him a lot. Yes, if I was on a wild card right now, I wouldn't have him. Yes, if I was making a transfer and I didn't own him, I probably wouldn't bring him in. But if you already own him, Southampton at home, Watford away, next two fixtures look pretty damn good. And if you really want to sell him for game week 33 for a double game weeker like Barnes or Maddison, to me, game week 33 is the time to do it. It's not this week when Leicester have got to play Man United and Rafinha plays Southampton at home. So fingers crossed he can finally get some points. I don't like the fact that Bamford is out. That's obviously not ideal. He's out for a while. He might only make the last kind of one or two fixtures for Leeds. So that's not that helpful. But I think Leeds under Marsh have looked all right. I don't necessarily think they were, completely awful against Bielsa. Obviously, they did have that hard run where they kind of dropped a lot of points and lost a lot of games. But under Marsh, I think they have looked pretty good. It was only really that Villa game where they looked like pretty bad. Outside of that, the Leicester game, they looked pretty good. Norwich, they looked decent. Wolves obviously was helped by the red card for Jimenez, but they came back, they won it. Like, morale must be high. I'm fairly happy with Rafinha for the next two. And again, it's all about priority transfers. I've got Trent flagged. I've got Saiss on my bench. I've got Jimenez who's suspended. They are all bigger priorities than Rafinha. So we stay in for 2 more weeks. If he could get to 15 points over the next 2 weeks, I'll be pretty happy. All right, so adding in the forwards, I've got Lacazette and Broja. I'm more than happy if I have to play either of them this week. I think Arsenal will do well against Palace. I think they can go and get a win. I just don't think they're necessarily going to score a huge amount of goals. But obviously, if they get anything, I'm just hoping that Lacazette and Saka are involved. And with Southampton, yes, the results haven't been great recently. Yes, Broja's output has been pretty poor. But if you're ever going to turn that around, it's against Leeds, right? I mean, Leeds could win that game. They could score 3 goals, but you'd expect them to concede 1 or 2 along the way as well. But I've got Jimenez on my bench. He is suspended. I am probably going to sell him. I have toyed around with going to like a 4.5 million forward. Someone like Gelhardt, for example, at Leeds, and just hope that if he ever comes off my bench that he's got some minutes, because obviously Bamford is out at the moment. But I do think I'm just going to go to Weghorst for all the reasons I've spoke about this week. Extra fixture this week. Yes, it's Man City. I get that's not ideal, but I don't even really care if he doesn't score. As long as he gets appearance points and then gets maybe a goal against Everton, I'd be okay with that, right? Then it's Norwich in game week 32, and then in game week 33 it keeps my options open. Do I want a free hit in 33, in which case I can choose whether to keep him on the free hit or get rid of him? And if I don't, he's got another double game week, and I think 2 extra fixtures in the next 3 game weeks is probably worth bringing in. It's not that exciting, but what forward is, unless I can afford to go to Harry Kane, which I can't without major restructure, I've probably got to go to Weghorst, and I think I'll probably use my 2 free transfers, and I don't need to, especially if Trent is fit, because I can just play Tierney and Doherty, but I'll probably do Saiss up to someone else. Now, the team that I'm looking at here on screen, you get Weghorst and you get Cancelo. The problem is, if I do that move, I only have 0.6 million left in the bank. And in game week 33 or game week 32, if I want to do Son to Fernandes, I can't afford that without an additional hit. And looking at this team, there's not really too many players that I want to downgrade for lots of different reasons. But like Tierney, for example, I could downgrade to like Ben White and take the extra hit. But he's got a double game week in game week 33. I don't really want to be messing around with hits. Luka Dean is probably the prime candidate when you look at this team, but he could double in 34, and just holding him on the bench seems like a nice move. So if instead of Cancelo, I could just get Reece James, and then if we come to the transfer planner, if I do Saiss to Reece James instead, and then do Jimenez to Weghorst. Now, obviously, this relies on Tuchel saying that Reece James is fully fit. Then the team would look like this. Tierney would come out, right? So the team would look like this, and obviously I'm not going to mess around with captaincy and benches and stuff like that, but if Saka misses out, Broja comes in, and if Trent misses out, Tierney comes in, and this would be the team. And then in game week 32, you have Reece James, against Southampton. I do worry about a bit of rotation with the Champions League and the fact that he's just coming back from another injury. But the hope is there, and obviously I'd probably bench Doherty anyway for Tierney. So if James doesn't play, Doherty comes on. I guess the only issue is what happens if Reece James comes on for a cameo. But then, like I said just a minute ago, Weghorst has got Norwich. I'm okay to play him in that game. And in Game Week 32, I don't necessarily need to make a move. I could just play Son against Aston Villa and just leave Fernandes one more week. And then I'd be going into Game Week 33, excuse the desk not there, Game Week 33 with 2 free transfers. So I could just do Son to Fernandes, which I can now afford for free because I've gone for Reece James, and he would be my captain. And without making any other moves, and basically rolling a transfer into Game Week 34, this would be my team. So you'd have the 3 double game weekers up front. You got Fernandes and Saka in midfield, Tierney in defence, and then you've got Dubravka in goal. So that's 7 double game week players. Now, I'm not really looking to hold on to Rafinha for any reason. It's just whether or not bringing in Harvey Barnes makes this team better. Now, I know he has a double game week. So using the second free transfer, Rafinha to Barnes, bench Kulusevski, makes sense. But if I think he's going to get rotated for one of those games, it might just be worth rolling the transfer into Game Week 34. And I think this team looks okay. So I think going back to this, I think Jimenez to Weghorst is probably what I'll end up doing. It's just what defender move do I make? Do I do Size to Cancelo? Do I do Size to Reece James? Or do I just hold and just roll the transfer into Game Week 32? I think there is going to be rotation, but I just think Pep talks about rhythm quite a lot. Will he want Cancelo to play against Burnley? Fairly easy game, get back into the Man City swing of things, and then go and play like really difficult fixtures over the next 4. It is worth saying that Liverpool and Man City play 4 games in 11 days. 2 of them are against each other, and obviously the other 2 are Champions League. There is going to be rotation, and that's why I don't want to go too gung-ho right now, bringing in loads of Man City, Liverpool, and kind of Reece James. So for now, I'm kind of concentrating on just one. Probably then making transfers towards the double in 33. Then I'll think about getting kind of, more Man City and Chelsea players in. Just really quickly, I guess, let's say I go back to this team. So this is the team in Game Week 33. Let's say I do the Rafinha move, right? I'll do Rafinha to Barnes, and we'll bench Kulusevski. This is the team in 33. Obviously gives me a couple of players on the bench as well. Sarr and Luka Dean will blank. If in Game Week 34... Villa end up doubling against Leicester and Burnley, which is a pretty decent fixture, then obviously I'd play Luka Dean, and I could do this for a hit. I won't go too many game weeks afterwards because I'm just thinking out loud, but Fernandes to Coutinho, who then would also double that week, and then that could be my move to do Lacazette to Kane and just roll with that. And obviously I'd probably just bench Broja and maybe just play 4-4-2, maybe bench Doherty and play Kulusevski, whatever it is, right? But that could be the week that I then move to Harry Kane and get that Fernandes captaincy in Game Week 33, maybe get Coutinho for the double, and then obviously, like I said, they play in Game Week 35, they play Norwich at home. Anyway, that's a lot of forward planning, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. There's a lot of things to think about this week. I'm not quite sure about free hit 33 versus 36, but if I can get Fernandes in for captaincy and have another 6 double game week players, maybe even 7, I'm probably okay with not free hitting. Save it till 36. See if I need it. I probably will. Get my pick of Chelsea, Man City players that I might not have loads of in my team and just roll from there. Let me know what you think about that plan. Who else is bringing in Weghorst this week? I think he's going to be popular for lots of reasons that I've mentioned in this video. Let me know down below. If you enjoy it, give it a like. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. Don't forget to check out Spitch as well. Link in the description below. Just need to be 18 or over. There's links to begambleaware.org as well. Thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with a game week preview. I'll see you soon.